Hello and hi. Happy Sunday to everyone. Whether it's morning, early morning, late at night, midday, or even a new day around the world. I am Mama Coco. My name is Cora Pantin. And I'm here live today with a special live that started at 2 p.m. or should have started. And I want to apologize for the slight delay. Today we have a politician on board, a female politician. And you know how I'm always excited to speak to female politicians because we have reached the age and the stage in life where women have to rise up and bring themselves forth. Yes, for service. Service as mothers, service because we are the ones that feel in the pain. We are the ones that take the time to be nurturing, and we are the ones that the world's supposed to be hearing of at this time in life. Welcome today to a sister, a hard worker, a politician, someone who is vying for a place in the upcoming election next week, or this week is the end of the campaigning, because on next Monday, not tomorrow Monday, the following Monday is election day. Welcome, our sister, Carolyn Seepersad-Bachan.
That's pleasant good evening to all, good afternoon to all of you, and to you, Mama Coco. And let me first thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being on your show.
You're welcome. So, Miss Carolyn Seepersad, I want to get to know you myself because I didn't even get to speak with you before this time here.
Yes,
the first time I'm hearing your voice, and it's the first time I'm getting to know you. I already say how beautiful you are and how charming you are, and I'm excited to share you with my audience, the people of Trinidad and Tobago and across the world, and for women around the world. So Miss Seepersad-Bachan, Bachan.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah,
tell us about yourself. Who are you and where are you from? We get it straight to the point.
Okay, well, originally I am from San Fernando, Trinidad. I now live in St. Augustine with my husband and 2 children. While I was, a couple of years ago in 2010, I was a Minister of Energy and a Minister of Public Administration, and also the Member of Parliament for San Fernando West. I have been involved in politics for some time now. I was an opposition senator, and sometime between 2002, I think it was 2001, 2002, 2002 to 2006. And subsequent to that, we had formed what was called Congress of the People, which is a political party in Trinidad and Tobago. We went up in elections in 2007. We gained a number of, I was deputy political leader at the time of that party. We got 149,000 votes. We then joined with, a number of other parties to form what is called the People's Partnership in 2010. And from there, that is when I became Minister of Public Admin, Minister of Energy, and Member of Parliament. I won my seat in San Fernando West at the time I was living there. And subsequent to 2015, I took a little rest from politics, and I was asked to come back in and be political leader of the Congress of the People. So today I am political leader of the COP. We had a lot of rebuilding to do, and we are contesting this general election.
Wonderful. So you said that you won your seat in San Fernando West?
Yes.
Who did you run against?
At that point in time, I ran against Junior Regrello from the People's National Movement, and I won that seat. Today,
So-
I'm contesting the St. Augustine seat.
You running for the St. Augustine seat.
Yeah.
So how you come to get out of politics in San Fernando?
Well, after the 2015 period, there were a lot of issues that took place between what we call the People's Partnership. It didn't continue to hold, which was a sort of coming together of a number of parties. You see, we believe, and I still believe strongly in coalition politics with Trinidad and Tobago, and but however, that did not quite work out, and this is why after 2015, that I didn't go back up for elections in 2015, and a part of the problem was that the People's Partnership came to an end. Subsequent to that, the party did participate in the elections and didn't do very well in 2015. It won one seat. It won the St. Augustine seat, in fact, as a COP. But today, I'm going up as COP, but not as part of the partnership at all, as the People's Partnership. We are going up as an independent party.
An independent party, COP.
Yes.
So who is the guy that had that seat?
He was Prakash. Well, first of all, Winston Dukaran fought this seat in 2007. He was the first political leader of the COP. Subsequent to that, Prakash Ramada fought the seat. He was a deputy political leader. And then he became political leader of the COP. And now I am political leader of the COP.
Could you just explain to us why the juggling and jiggling?
No, just the terms of office came to an end. And normally every 3 years we have an election for the political leader. In the last election, the last political leaders election, Mr. Ramada did not contest the election. There was another candidate, yes, but I won the political leaders election in 2017.
2017. Well, welcome onto this platform of mine. Welcome to this platform of mine where you can express yourself. We will ask you a couple questions that I know that the public would like to know. No one incited me. I wasn't incited, not by even you. So right now you are a virgin on my show. and I follow the directions because of truthfulness and transparency. And I guess that who invited you told me that you will be ready to be, and you are able to be transparent, to be honest, and to prove some people wrong. They didn't tell me that, that just came. Because in this life, a lot of people will have questions about you and answers about you, but they never had a conversation with you.
Yeah.
So, peace this morning. What religion are you?
I'm Presbyterian.
You're Presbyterian. So today we pray for peace, we pray for calm, we pray for tranquility, and we will get to know you better. You're a Presbyterian, so I know that I could afford to say the word peace to you.
Yes.
And the peace you came with is the peace you are going to enjoy and the peace you're going to live with.
Sure.
And whatever you go after it with a prayer. And let us lean on prayer. Let us lean not on our own understanding today. For our God is able, He is real, He's able to deliver, He's able to project, and He's able to save, and He's able to protect. So we pray today for guidance and protection for you and your independent party, the COP.
Thank you.
Miss, you're welcome. Peacefully welcome. I do everything with prayer and supplication, and I let my petition be known unto our God Jehovah. So Miss, hello. The show must go on. Miss Seepersad-Bachan, tell us about your educational journey.
Okay, I went to the University of the West Indies in Trinidad, UWI campus here at St. Augustine, in fact. I did my first degree, a master's degree in my first degree was in pure and applied physics, and then I went on to do engineering, electrical and computer engineering as a master's. I actually was a research assistant. I served at the Seismic Research Center for a while. And then I came in as a lecturer at the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, UWI. I probably lectured for about close to 20 years. So I started in 1987 or so, and went straight up in 2000 and so. So I've seen your hand up.
Yes. So will you say that you're a scientist? So I hear you use the word physics.
Mm-hmm.
So are you
Yes,
a scientist?
I'm a scientist. I would say yes, I was in engineering, but now I'm also an attorney at law.
Yes, but then I just want to get this science in.
Yes,
because a lot of times we keep doing stuff even with our in our Ministry of Health concerning the COVID-19, and we're not hearing from scientists.
Yes.
So
I agree.
You are a scientist, yes.
Yes, I am.
Nice. It can't be you used to be a scientist.
No.
You are.
You are, yeah.
Yes.
And if I may add something to that, once you have come through a science training, engineering, or the technical fields, there's a particular way that you think. There's a particular way that you approach problems and how you solve problems, how you formulate a solution to a problem. I find it, very logical, I'm speaking to, my colleagues as well, who are in the field. And even when I became an attorney at law, I also lectured a bit in law. And I find that, the science helps you to take that logical approach to zero in on what the problem is and to be able to formulate that solution. We tend to be very solution oriented.
Yes.
And, we know how to remain focused on what the problem is.
Analytically focused.
And we tend to drill down. One of the things that we drill down into the issue, we drill down into the problem because the details are important. So that is why when I was at the Ministry of Energy, as a Minister of Energy, I took the very same approach. And when I left the Ministry of Energy, I went to the Ministry of Public Administration. You would hear public officers say that I took a very engineering approach to modernizing the public service because it was all about re-engineering and, process re-engineering, looking how you want to modernize the public service because Trinidad and Tobago has a very archaic type public service and how you want to modernize those processes. And it takes a sort of an engineering methodology to do so.
So you move with surgical precision. I'm going there with you because I understand that when you get a bachelor degree, you got one Bachelor of Science degree.
That's correct.
Yes. So we need much more than you. We need more than you in governance, in government, in departments. And this is my first kudos to you.
Thank you.
A round of applause.
Thank you.
We need more people like you.
Thank you.
We need more in governments. We need more in decision making.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a surgical decision maker. You go in. You don't, people like you don't stay on the surface. You're not superficial.
That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Continue.
And if I may just add one thing to that, and this is again for all scientists who, in their approach, we tend to be very facts-based. Because if you are not facts-based, you can't get, and I say this all the time, even to my students when I lecture, that if you don't have the quality of the solution that you provide is based on the quality of the data that you use. The more accurate your data, the more precise your solution will be. And we've had so many problems, even in terms of, decision-making in government. I always say to them, the quality of our decision-making depends on the quality of the facts that we have. The more facts we use and the less fake information we use, the more that we'll become very precise and in defining that solution that will be able to solve that problem, and getting close to that 100% mark.
So take for instance our attorneys and all these people that getting to be like Mr. Alwari, I call in a name, so people like them, a lot of them, those kind of posts, they don't go into the problem. They jump into behave as if they can solve the problem, but they really don't even know the problem.
Because they have not analyzed it properly, to get the subcomponent parts of it to formulate that solution.
They're getting ready to solve crime. You can't just solve crime by using a weapon that caused the crime to solve the crime.
Yes.
We have to have diplomacy, and you have to have data. Speak, my darling. I don't want to stop you. You going into the area that I love to expatiate. So you go.
Well, you see, one of the things that we have to be mindful about, you can't solve aggression with aggression. That's the first thing. Secondly, when we take the crime issue in Trinidad and Tobago, I think one of the problems we have is that we take the problem and divide it up into sub-problems, and then we don't bring it back together as one complete solution. So, sure, go ahead.
No. It's just my finger that went nuts. Because I mean to say, well, I should do this instead of do this, because we already know what this meant.
Well,
I should do this. Go ahead, my dear.
So the problem the problem in crime, in our view as the Congress of the People, we believe the crime plan, your strategy to solve crime is holistic. It has to be across the board. It has to be an integrated solution with parts in it. And what I think happens is that we tend to deal with individual parts of it and we don't bring it together all as one. So if you want to, for example, solve the issue of gangs in this country, the criminal justice system must work to detect those gang leaders and to find them, to be able to get the evidence, which is a problem we have. We charge a lot of people, but we don't have the quality of the evidence to convict them. So all we end up in is charging a whole lot of people and putting them behind bars at what we say in remand yard. And then sometime later, we realize we didn't have the quality evidence and we have to drop the charge. After years of people sitting behind remand yard, some of them innocent. And that is the problem I have, because now that I'm an attorney at law in the criminal justice system and I sit in the courts and I see this problem every single day, and I cannot understand why it is if you don't. Quality is about getting it right from the first point, from the start of your process. And that means getting your evidence to be able to quality evidence that could stand in a court of law. Let's start there. Put some effort into that. When you start there now, you will build confidence in the system. We have a criminal justice system, and kudos to the judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago. Since we've had COVID, we now go to virtual hearings. So we can now expedite cases with the virtual hearing. In fact, I'm not saying thank God for COVID, but COVID brought us to a point and forced us to do things that we didn't want to do before, which in my view would have made us more progressive and more productive. So today we can complete a whole number of cases more than we were able to before. Now, you could have as many judicial officers. We could have virtual hearings. We can have a virtual courtroom up at the prison. But if you don't have the evidence, all we are doing is adjourning matters and, putting a backlog, creating a backlog in the system. So that's one issue. But the second part that has to go with that, if it is you want to stop the gang activity in this country and you are able to determine that one gang leader, the other part of it now, what about all the people who were in that gang? Are we all going to put them behind bars? Hasn't the time come for us to look at non-custodial sentences in this country so that some of these young people can look at community type work? What about now the other part of it? Another part of the solution. So, okay, you detect the gang leader. Who is this gang leader? You may want to incarcerate him. You want to convict him. You let the other members of the gang know they may pay non-custodial sentences and they may get into community service. But in addition to that, they may have been dropouts before. And I deal a lot, Mama Coco, with the children's court. I have seen and I have attended to many cases which has nothing to do with law. It has to do all with the social the social problems within our society, the community part of it, the family life. We have to reveal all of that at the same time. So when you charge these young boys or young girls for crime, and you want to get them into a community service program, you need to put them, and this is why the COP is now talking about a national service, compulsory national service for those who are at risk and who have fallen out of the radar, who have fallen out of the system. They may have gone to school, they dropped out of school. And I could give you the many reasons, because many of them I am represented. All of them are school dropouts, and there are specific reasons why they have dropped out. Our education system has failed them. The family life has failed them. The community has failed them. And I will even go a bit further. This morning I attended a church service. It was for all candidates for St. Augustine, the Cura Pentecostal Church, and I thank them for having us, and I thank them for blessing us as candidates, all the candidates. But I was having a little chat afterwards with the pastor, and I said to him, the church now needs to play an important role.
Amen.
Play the role of rebuilding our communities. I'm not going to go back to COVID. Again, I'm not saying thank God for COVID, but COVID taught us how to work from home, remote working, flexi time. And during that time, we had an opportunity to rebuild family life, not spend hours in traffic jams getting to Port of Spain to work. COVID also taught us how to rebuild community life, how to look out for each other, look out for the children who need, how to share resources, those who needed to access, devices and online e-learning platforms so they could write their SE exams, their CAPE exams, and their CSET. If we are able to rebuild the social fabric in our communities, and this is why as a COP,
I think you're just sending me into a feeling here right now that I have to say, I wonder if you used to listen to me, because that's my story. Especially with the young people that, they fail out in Mukarapo. What are we doing with them? Just let them live in neighborhoods and society, and then we give them a name, we christen them over, we calling them bandits, we calling them hooligans, we calling them criminal. But everybody have a criminal mind in them, because I ain't gonna stand up and make you come in my face. I know you want to take out my eye, and I am going to allow you to take out my eyes. You understand me? So we can't just sit back and every year we vote in, every year we putting up candidates that unqualified, they ain't qualifying anything. We put them up because they look good. Like this young man from Lavantil that I really boast and carry on over. Mr. Hines, I love Mr. Hines. But Mr. Hines ain't doing anything. Mr. Hines like dreadlocks. Fool me. A PNM like him. Speak, my dear. You are making me proud this hour.
Thank you very much. You see, Mama Coco, let me say, does it make sense taking these young individuals and putting them into behind bars, and then you may convict them, not convict them, but eventually when they do come out of incarceration, what happens to them? They become even more hardened criminals. We have to, if we want to understand, we want to become a productive society, we want to become a productive nation and a progressive nation, then we have to understand that we have to take these very same individuals and make them productive. How do we rehabilitate them? How do we? Now I know we will not be able to get 100% of it, because we will not be able to achieve 100% of all of that. But even if you get 70 to 80% rehabilitation, you know what you are doing. You're putting 70 to 80% of those individuals back out into society, who can become productive, progressive, and possibly, because of their experience, help us rebuild the communities in this country. You see,
where you come from, lady, I don't know where you came from, but I love where you were, and I love where you are. Keep speaking.
Thank you. We believe Trinidad and Tobago, COP has always, as Congress of the People, we've always maintained that there are about 600 communities in this country. Each of those communities, and each one, there is a unique economic opportunity that needs to be explored, where you can grow entrepreneurship, innovation, and creativity. And possibly while I am on this topic, let me just say to you that what we did, we were a party that started off on what was called the new politics, changing the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. Because as you know, politics in Trinidad and Tobago tends to be tribal. There's a lot of racial voting. which serves nobody and
We
does
were going to go there, but as you already there, preach.
they do your, let me tell, Trinidadians and Tobagonians, tribal voting. I know the major political parties encourage it, and that is because they put a boogeyman in your head to make you feel that you have to have some fear, and this is why you must vote your race, but you are doing yourself a disservice, because that is why we have all these safe seats. You just mentioned Laventil West. Okay, we have a candidate there. His name is Kurt Sinnett, and Kurt is a boxer. He was a boxer. And he's very much involved, a youth from that area who was able to uplift himself and become a champion in boxing. Today, he goes back and he empowers young people and teaches them the skills they need to empower themselves and make themselves for the future. Financial literacy is his name of his game. Blockchain, digital cryptocurrency and digital currency is his passion. Now, all of this is what we are trying to say. There are so many opportunities for our young people to be empowered, but the tribal politics prevent empowerment, because when you practice that old form of politics, what you're doing when you get into government, all you're trying to do is protect the political power of your political party. The COP was born out of the need to change, to make that positive change to the political landscape. And as a result of that, we brought in something called the new politics. With the new politics, what we were speaking to was how you put, as our philosophy, put country first over your political interests and your individual interests. The reason for that being, and part of it is, we wanted to, our mantra is, we were set up to unite this nation. Why? Because we feel our diversity is an asset. It is a strength. It is not a liability. We treat it like if it is a weakness and a liability. Trinidad and Tobago is way behind the curve, mainly because we are way behind the curve. We have been losing our competitiveness every day. But you know what? We are not, because our natural resources prices have fallen, commodity prices have fallen. So we are dealing with that. Less foreign exchange earnings available to us, as a country. So we now have to look for innovation. We have to look for creativity. We need the people of this country to generate that new economy. We normally used to speak about that, when we used to talk about our black gold before, which was oil.
Yes.
And today, that new oil is data plus talent, which means it's technology plus the people skills, the entrepreneurship, the innovation that they have to bring. That is what will take us out from where we are, behind the curve, and get us ahead of the curve. And in every community, there's an opportunity for entrepreneurship and creativity, whether it is in farming, going further downstream to agro-processing, using our products to be able to make facial products, for example, going towards pharmaceuticals, things like that. You have sports, you have arts and the culture. There's so much creativity there that we can export, and we can allow individuals to be able to earn that living. We formed what was called Making the Quantum Leap. And Making the Quantum Leap is a brochure that we use, where we speak to the whole issue. I'm just looking for my brochure here. Sorry about that. But it is about how you build that digitally driven and economically empowered individual who can, at any point in time, be able to create, own, preserve his own wealth and pass that wealth to the next generation. That individual can be able, digitally driven, economically empowered, to be able to participate in governance of a country. We are talking about, and I see somebody's talking here about corruption and nepotism. This is why in our principles and values, we speak to meritocracy. If we put the right people in the right places, and this does not have to be me alone, this is about the whole country. And just to make my point about diversity, And I'm just going to step away 1 second. Allow me 1 second.
Yes, you have been allowed.
Grab a brochure.
Well, my people, we are hearing a woman speak, a woman with knowledge, a woman that we should all listen to. We should put sexism aside, racism aside, you know, and the cultural imbalance, you know, that we have been taught in politics all these years. We need to step aside. We need reformation. We need things like, you know, the law's supposed to have some kind of an improvement along the way. We have to get away. Like this morning, I wrote something, and but I didn't get to post it because one of my cousins called me, and I couldn't get to. Yes, constitutional reform. Yes, and we need it, and I couldn't get to post it just to say, Trinidad and Tobago, please stop the old politics. Look at the quality politics and propaganda that the People's National Movement, my party, I am PNM, used to be PNM, I am voting PNM, and I have no apologies to make. Look at the, I ain't tearing down women, this ain't nothing about women. I never said women. I said Trinidad and Tobago, stop it. Stop using propaganda and lies during our politics. Look at the quality campaign that Trinidad and Tobago showed to take Kamala Bissessa out of power. And now everything we're hearing is lawsuit. This one suing this one because they call the name in something. Look the things that was said and done to that woman. You are not on Kamala's team, but this was in my spirit. I woke up annoyed when I see the Attorney General or someone of these boys up in the top there getting ready to bring a lawsuit because somebody said something about them. Touch a tribalism. Speak now, sister.
So this is what I wanted to show you. It's called the click moment. This is something we tried in the public service. So again, a scientific approach to show you how diversity could work for your country.
Yes.
And we are blessed with different cultures, different ethnic groups, different religions, female, male, young people, old people. With diversity, you get something called the click moment. And it was done by Franz Johansson, okay? We actually trained our public officers. We formed them into teams across the public service.
Yes.
And we actually trained them in this methodology to generate what is called the click moment. Because at the time when I was at the Ministry of Public Admin, we were looking at modernizing the public service, and we had launched a 10-year program called Gold to Diamond, celebrated our 50 years in 2012. And we had a program that will take us to our Jubilee year in 2022. And in that program, in that 10 years, we were supposed to transform the public service, bring in all our services online and so on. But we needed innovation and creativity. We even used, a lot of young people. We had what we call something called a diamond buzz. And those were a number of young people who came on board to be able to develop apps and so on that will modernize, to be used by the public. And this was an example of how we engage citizens to help us find solutions to problems. And that brings me to, because you talk about being open and transparent, it was about making government open government, implementing what we call the open data platform. So all citizens have access to all information. It's a step up from the freedom of information, meaning you don't have to request information. It's all there. It's available to you by default, all government data. Only thing that would have happened is that some may be classified because of the sensitivity of the issue, whether it is a tender that is taking place, a national security issue. But eventually, it would lose that classification. A technology system would be, reclassifying until it loses its full classification. It's open to the public. The reason for that being is that we would have been able to get more citizens to participate in governance, help you formulate policies. That Diamond Buzz group, which was set up with the technology to find apps, help, have other young people provide you, that won a global award under what we call the Commonwealth Public Ministers of Public Administration across the Commonwealth. that won a global award for innovation. And I put my hand out, I put my hand out. I commend the young people who worked on that for getting that award, because it means that it can be implemented. This is how we can take our country forward in terms of innovation and creativity. When I came back in as political leader, one of the criticisms for us as the COP is that we were not able to implement the new politics. And although we did get some of the ideology of COP into the partnership government, for example, issues such as the procurement legislation. I was a very firm believer in the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, EITI, which is an open system for all the energy companies, so that the public understands every day how their natural resources are being used. It is governed by a process. We became EITI compliant again, but we got back our candidate status when we came into government. I went to Paris, we lobbied, we got it back. And we were supposed to implement the legislation, but that was after I left. Then when I went...
Where did you go, or who did you went?
When I left Ministry of Energy, as minister, I became Minister of Public Admin. And that is when I started pursuing open government and open data. And we became the first CARICOM nation to join the open government platform, meaning that our programs would now be because when they review us with the programs that we had set up, the plan of action, we would have been open government compliant and open data. But one of the things that happened, of course, and I was so disappointed after we worked so hard to achieve that, we just lost that status about a couple months ago. We're no longer open government. And when we became open government, it was a World Bank type project. An IDB assisted us with that project. We would then ask as Trinidad and Tobago to assist other CARICOM nations to become open government compliant. And we were supposed to be helping them, and as a result of that, I'm amazed now, we helped them, and that's when I was there. And today they are still open government compliant, and we are not. We have just lost our open government status as Trinidad and Tobago for non-compliance and non-conformance with the programs, to remain open government. And that hurts me, and those are one of the things that I want to go into Parliament and deal with. We must become open government and open data compliant again for Trinidad and Tobago. If we want our citizens to become part of that whole data plus talent, that talent can only apply if we open up the data sets so that the citizens could have the information to deal with. Yes, Mama Coco.
So, in a nutshell, we are speaking here of corruption.
That's right.
We are speaking here about being fake, dishonesty, the ability to lose such a privilege or rights to the people, and the kind of regression that we're showing is so blatant and open. And it's the PNM government that did that. They created that.
Well, they lost it. They lost the open government. We no longer a member of the open government. And I mean, I don't even want to go down the road.
So all these bright boys, the minister, national security minister, this and minister that, they don't know that we are losing, or we lost a very powerful act in our country.
Well, the part of it is...
You see, sister, you know what has happened.
Yes.
When they are in government, they make rules and they make laws for their own profit. But they're not recognizing that the day they are not ruling, that is the same laws that they are going to be judged by.
Exactly. So this is what we developed. A Better Tomorrow begins today. It's called Making the Quantum Leap. Because we recognize that Trinidad and Tobago will have to skip some phases because of where we are. We continue to fall on the competitive, in everything. Innovation, the other day I looked at the innovation index and I'm surprised to see how we have fallen so badly in innovation. So that means making the quantum leap, we have to take some giant steps to get into the future and to get ahead of some of the countries that have been able to move from way behind us and leap ahead in front of us.
Wow.
And what we have come up with is what we are talking about is to make that quantum leap, we must be able to, first of all, have a development plan that is sustainable, meaning that it cannot just be driven by economic indicators such as GDP growth, etc. Our indicators must be driven by the quality of life that we are enjoying. And therefore, we must use quality of life indicators to measure our development. And we call that sustainable development because, I know I'm a little bit off here, right? With direction, right?
Yes, come
yes. You see there, it is sustainable means, and this is according to the United Nations definition, it must be economic. The economic goals must synchronize and with your social progress goals and your environmental protection goals. So that means that we can't be encountering and embarking on projects, and while they may give us this amount of GDP growth, but at the same time you're mashing up a community, you're mashing up the social fabric, you're mashing up family life, and destroying the environment.
You're shutting down Petrotrin, not thinking how many people
that's right
and live because of Petrotrin.
Exactly.
You think you close a company, but you're closing down a people.
Well, you construct a highway, but when you constructed the highway, how much environmental damage did you do? When you constructed that highway, you mash up a community. I live in Valsain, and they constructed a highway, and whereas Valsain used to be one big community, now you split the community in two. We have no access to each other. To get across from South Valsain to North Valsain or North Valsain to South Valsain. So we are now like two separate communities. So you broke up a social,
That's what they do.
And that is what we have to be mindful of, because the more we do that, we need to see more connectivity. And the reason why we are saying that is our quantum leap is based on 4 cornerstones. One of them being how we diversify the economy by moving economic activity fully up the value chain. And that means, for example, if I'm talking about farming, from farm to plate, I allow the farmers not just to produce tomatoes and okras, but how do they go downstream and participate in agro-processing or packaging? Think about the number of job opportunities that will create, or even further downstream of that. As I was telling you, facial products, I was looking at that the other day, and you and I know how much plants we need to do that with. I was talking to someone the other day right here in our community who is producing yam flour, cassava flour, and those things are so healthy. So if you link across sectors as well, agriculture to health, you drive a whole set of new products. Now what you're doing is you're creating 21st century jobs, you are creating 21st century spin-off industries. The second part is how we empower people. And just let me say a little bit about empowerment. I was a little disappointed here in Trinidad with the amount of discussion that went on with the e-learning platforms. And e-learning is a way forward. And there are many, many, many benefits. But what we need to do is revamp our entire education system to follow the Finnish model. As you know, Finland is number 1 in many areas, and their children go to school 9 to 12 for 4 days a week. The rest of the day is turned into community activity, concerts, sports, music, you name it. The part that we need to develop the brain with and develop that emotional intelligence. If we are able to put those systems in place and allow that learning to go beyond the school walls and beyond the school day, and make your schools into what we call those community centers, hype of activity for not only children, but for parents as well. We'll build the fabric within the community, that togetherness. And one of the things with this now, the teachers themselves, if they don't have to deliver material because it's being delivered on these e-learning platforms, then they now become managers of every child. The destiny, the child and the teacher now can plan out his or her individual learning plan for his life or her life. And they become, because with these e-learning platforms, I can tell right away from it, it sends you these reports, will send to the teacher, well, this child is having a problem with math. This child is having a problem with vocabulary. So you know the weaknesses, you know the strengths of the child, and you're able to address the learning plan to treat with the weaknesses. So the teacher becomes a manager of every individual child's learning plan. That is what we need, because we have to inculcate skills into our children to become creative, and it starts at primary school if we want that innovation. In addition to that, we want them to be model citizens. We want them to understand civic civic responsibility, their duties to their country, and how to contribute not only to Trinidad and Tobago, but to the world. They have, as a citizen, they must be able to contribute to the world. And as I say that, what it also means is that we have to treat them. They have to know how to be inquisitive. We were all, Mama Coco, you included, we were all in a system where it was top down, where we were trained to become the typical factory worker to power that industrial revolution that took place, and they needed mass education for it. Today's world, for the fourth industrial revolution that we keep talking about, that child has to be a lifelong learner. That child has to know how to learn skills quickly, because tomorrow there will be a skill that pop up and they have to train themselves quickly in that skill to take advantage of that opportunity that is emerging. So this is where we will get that creativity and innovation back into the communities and bring about what we call community entrepreneurship. Very important, as you said, fairness, equity. If we want every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago to be able to have access to every opportunity so that they could create, own, and maintain their own wealth, then we have to put frameworks in place to ensure that everyone, look at what happened recently with the SCA program and the Cape and CSEC. Those who were at home, because of the digital divide, did not have access to devices or the broadband internet, while there were others who had. So when they went back into school to write for their exams, those who were continuously receiving online education, there were those who were not. Now look how unfair that system has turned out and creating that divide. This is why we believe, and I'll come to that in a minute, but just let me finish this last point. To rebuild communities, we want to generate those economic spaces within the communities. I fear that the two major parties, what they are doing is they're trying to rebuild an economy that no longer exists or will soon not exist. The world has changed since COVID. The new order that is emerging, the new economy that is emerging, Trinidad and Tobago has an ideal opportunity to participate in that new economy and get ahead of the curve. And our quantum leap, which was designed, it is even more relevant today, post-COVID-19, because it speaks to how to create those economic spaces within communities and empower people, because that is where, so you could stay from home and create your own business, create your own micro industry using online services. What we have been suggesting is that instead of spending billions of dollars on brick and mortar and on highways, because that's all I'm hearing from both sides, I must say, is how many highways we're going to build. We don't need highways anymore, because highways designed to take care of an 8 o'clock in the morning traffic jam and a 4 o'clock in the evening traffic jam may be something of the past. If we are now able to work from home remotely, and amazingly, and let me just share this with you because I was so proud, I felt very proud, and I want to compliment all the staff at the Ministry of Public Admin, who worked on the Gold to Diamond project. I did meet a couple of, when I was on the road campaigning, we did in Macoya Gardens, we did meet some people who were campaigning for the People's National Movement, and one of them is a public officer. And she told me she remembered when she worked with us in public service. And she said, listen, do you know, Mrs. Bachan, you are the only one who was pushing in your Gold to Diamond project, all the remote working from home, the flexi time, the 4 days a week. And in our thing, we speak to moving the working day from 8 hours to 6 hours and work 4 days, from 5 days to 4 days a week, so that we can have more family life. We can have more community life. We can help those very same people that help us rebuild communities because they have more quality time. And I say this, quality time to spend with their family. Because when you put people through this horrendous traffic jams and they get home at 8 o'clock in the night after sitting 2 or 3 hours what value are they to their children? What quality time can they spend? How can they participate in homework? How can they participate in even community activities? That is what we need. And this is why we have been proposing. And she said, you did it under your Gold to Diamond. You did it.
even like a parent who want to do an extra curriculum, an extra class.
Yes.
They will have a chance to finish work, do that class, and still get home on time
Exactly.
to take care of their families. Look how many marriages are being disrupted and divorce happening because wives doesn't be home early, husbands doesn't be home early. They can't have time with each other.
That's right.
So
that's correct.
Highways impoverish a whole society, a whole community. You run a road through there. People had the stores they could have go to. Now they can't get to the store. They rather go straight now to Crep because they can't get to go across into Tanapuna or down to the Kwesi.
Yeah. And that is what we have to be mindful of. We need to build more community life. We need to see more wooden little bridges and more pathways, more cycling paths, more roadside cafes where people can, I know now in COVID we can't, socialize the way we used to before, but we still have to have that community spirit if we want to rebuild Trinidad and Tobago as one people. And that is something that, I find so strange that, we still seem not to be focused on that. In fact, what we had generated was what we call as a solution going forward in terms of, the new economy is building what we called a technology platform, expanding out the e-government platform, which I know because I was there. It has the space on it. It can be built out even more, expanded with the data center, but allow not only public services to come online, but you put on what is called a toolbox on top of it, which will allow private citizens and small businesses to access it, farmers, so that they can use the technology to build their own e-commerce platforms, to be able to access cheap marketing services, cheap financial services, auditing. They can also be able to, remove a lot of what we call the in-between, the middlemen, and they can go straight to customers, even in foreign countries, therefore now becoming a generator of foreign exchange for themselves and generating a better profit margin. That is
my goodness, we are close to 1 hour. And you know how much time, we have today. Today is not one of our 3 hours and 4 hours and 5 hours show. You have other commitment for the day. And even my daughter that you just met, she has commitment too for later.
That's right.
I could hear you speak on this topic alone for the rest of the day because you are so meticulous. You are so getting to the point. Yes, and we have other things to go after. People, I know they want to hear more of this. But we have another question that I want to ask, that we need to ask you. We want the other question because
sure.
I don't want to say I love you, but I have to say it. So I hope you understand that.
Okay, I saw 2 questions. What brought you into the politics? Very quickly, as a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, I was always passionate about local content in the energy sector. I worked a lot in the energy sector through the University of the West Indies, seconded to even the refinery upgrade project in 1999. And part of the problem is that a lot of our local engineers were not being used, and we still depended so much on foreign expertise, and our local engineers had the capacity to do so.
I always asking for our UWI trained graduates.
Exactly.
Where are they? How many of them in Parliament right now? I do not see them there.
No, and I'll tell you, when I was also chairman of National Petroleum Marketing Company, right? I was a director first in 1990 and then became chairman in 1995. During that time, and I hate when people tell me this cannot be done. At the time we had a landscape of service stations that looked so drab and shabby and archaic and old from the 1950s and the 1960s.
Just like the politics, archaic.
Okay, right. And we decided we will modernize the service station network, bringing new modern canopies and bringing the quick shop, what we call the convenience store concept. And people in Trinidad said, that can't work here. Convenience store will not work here. I said, listen, I am a mother. And I can tell you, when you are at work and you are trying to get home and you have to put something in the lunch kit the next day for your children, you very well will turn up in that gas station and you will go to that convenience store and you will pick up. And believe me, our convenience stores today are a success, our quick shop, right? Now, people told me it couldn't be done. And it was the very same young people, the very same young professionals who were able to get it done. They were able to explore what was happening internationally and how to adapt it here. Similarly, our engineers could do the same job, and that local content always bothered me. Even as a minister of energy, every one of our projects, we would insist that there must be this local content. That's the only way we will get our people to develop. That was the only way the energy sector could have served its purpose, by developing the cadre of professionals that we need, which will eventually benefit other sectors of the economy, especially the private sector. Just I see that another one, what brought you into the politics? Something else I saw come up on the screen. What was it? How many seats?
How many seats?
In the
How many
Congress?
seats of Congress?
Yes. We are fighting.
Yeah.
We are fighting 4 seats. We are not fighting 41 seats. COP, as I told you before, had always believed in, giving everybody a voice. And we still believe coalition politics is relevant.
I love it.
Yes. And therefore, we did start, when I came in as political leader again, start having discussions with what we will call the third parties in this country, independent of the 2 major parties, with a view to bringing it together and giving everyone a voice. So we did have a kind of a seat allocation among ourselves, some of the parties. So for example, we did form something called Better United, meaning we are better united as these parties. And these parties, they are fighting in other seats. So COP has 4 seats in this upcoming general election. I am for St. Augustine, Carolyn Seepersad-Bachan.
St. Augustine, please wake up, listen to this woman. This is the quality politics that we don't have in Trinidad and Tobago. That's why politicians are asking for 5 years and 5 more years. 5 more years of what? When you just serving up superficial politics and policies, but the in-depth story to move our country forward. The reason why people will vote is because they don't know the truth. If people really know the truth of who the governments are, they will not vote them again. But we have a timeout.
I think sorry. So Laventil West, Kurt Sinnett, Diego Martin Northeast, Lonsdale Williams, Hoover North, Joel Ramdani. Now, just to make the point, what we are trying to achieve in this election, to be able to influence change, and let me just say this, to participate in that new economy and to regain our competitiveness starts with governance. We believe in being open and transparent, and we need to get